those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, they will take this and run with it, and it will massively improve everything you do. How to distinguish fact from opinion. Now, why will this help you remember more? Why will it help you study better? Well, because a lot of people don't remember more because they're not thinking about the information that's presented to them as it's presented to them. Now, I know that we just talked about how you got to keep moving forward and you don't have to understand everything, which is true and it's appropriate. But there are also times when it's appropriate to stop and reflect and to think scientifically as we read, to think critically, to think analytically. So how do we do this? Hey Magnetic Memorizers, this is Anthony Metivier from MagneticMemoryMethod.com. If you want to improve your memory, get started now by subscribing to this channel and enabling notifications so you don't miss a thing our community releases about using memory techniques like the Memory Palace to learn and remember anything in ways that are fast, easy, effective, and fun. And oh, for the love of the greatest tradition known to humanity, hit thumbs up for memory training. Well, one of the things that we need to do is we need to understand what is the most likely way that we can distinguish fact from opinion in a way that serves our memory. And that is to read scientifically with the tool of science in your mind. Now, I'm not opening up a discussion right now from all these people who are like, yeah, but scientists can't be trusted. Scientists are blah, blah, blah. Scientists are not science, okay? They're humans. And yes, that's true. That's a problem. It's a problem in the world that some people can't be trusted in how that they present science. Explain the results, the fruits of scientific analysis and study. But as we'll see, there's some tips here that can help you in this area. And it also just needs to be accepted that things are subject to change because science is a tool of verification. That's it. It helps you produce evidence that supports claims. And if you keep that in your mind while you're reading, you can remember more because this is a tool of memory. Thinking critically, scientifically, knowing that science is a tool of verification, and that by thinking in terms of verification, you are reading scientifically, then you're going to remember more automatically. Understand this, and you can just do it by thinking, is this a fact or is this an opinion? And if it is a fact, how is it a fact? And what is a fact anyway, right? So Nietzsche had a great thing about facts, and facts are essentially like everything else. They are becoming what they will become. They are a great sun, right? That is burning and changing as it burns and so forth. And a fact has staying power, like the sun does, but with more knowledge, it may fizzle out and die, right? It may burn out because it may no longer be true based on the surrounding elements that verify or sustain it. So facts are living, breathing things that undergo change. And there are ways that they change depending on perspective. So the way that the sun operates with Earth is different than the way that it operates with Mars based on perspective and so forth. Now that doesn't mean relativism is in play. This is not relativistic thinking. This is perspective. But we can verify all of this using tools. Anyway, very few things should be accepted without verification. And so when we have a verification mindset as we're reading, we will remember more because we're thinking, we're processing, we're connecting, we're asking questions. So as you read, you can find out the how, the who, the why, the when, right? And this is very, very important. It's a powerful tool for memory. It's a powerful tool for understanding more critical thinking. Who does the validity serve if it is valid, right? Who is served if the claims that are made in what you're reading is valid? Very, very powerful. Think about it. It's valid, but who gets the benefit of that being valid? And it may, there's nothing sinister necessarily in that validity serving this person and not the other. But it's very, very important to think about that, right? And then that can help you with discernment of intention behind certain things and enable you to assess the reliability of the evidence, right? And so we can look for exaggerations, distortions. We can look for intentional errors, unintentional errors, and they often are unintentional. Some people make mistakes. If you don't make no mistakes, maybe you're in the God department. I don't know. But mistakes do get made. That's for sure. But we want to think very, very critically about just the fact that there will be unintentional errors in everything, and there may be intentional ones, right? And then we want to think in our minds always, what's the age of the author? General age or specific age. The location of the author. How many books have they written, right? This can be also applied to movies and documentaries and all that stuff, right? And why would this matter? Well, it will tell you a lot about the reliability of evidence, because some young new chicken on the farm, they may not really even know yet what evidence is or how to validate their stuff, but they might be very good at it. Also, you can think about the date of publication. You can think of the publisher. All of these things should be in your mind, and they will help you remember more. And one of the reasons why they'll help you remember more is because you can unpack so many memory tools from this knowledge. So as Francis Bacon said, read not to contradict and confute, nor to believe and take for granted, nor to find talk and discourse, but to weigh and consider. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed. Ooh, I like those ones. And some few to be chewed and digested. That is, some books are to be read only in parts, others to be read but not curiously, and some few to be read wholly with diligence and attention. So here's another thing for you that will really help, is just assume that others know things that you don't. Now, a lot of people do this in a negative sense. Oh, I don't know anything, poor me, here's the world's smallest violin crying for me, etc. But there are some people who just really, they assume that they know, and they skip to the point. They skip to the point of, well, I already know this, and so they're gone. But you've got to bear fools out. Not too much, but you got to assume that you're the biggest fool of all and bear yourself out. So if you're like that and you just shut off and tune off and so forth, and I already heard that before. Maybe you haven't. But you also have to, cherish your time and have some discernment around how much time you're going to spend on things. But never assume that you know what's in a source or in a person's head, and just ask people to state things in different ways, or seek out statement in different ways. Read multiple books on the same topics for the difference, so that you can weigh and consider, right? And this is super powerful, but a lot of people won't do it. They want everything in the one book. You can't get everything in one book. One is the most dangerous number ever. So you want to be reading multiple books for difference, and understand that difference is always something that requires repetition. And one of the things that I always loved in university, even before I had memory techniques, was getting the reading list in advance. So we would get them around July, and then we would have the time in August to go into the bookstore. Remember at York University, I don't know if they still have it there, but all the textbooks that you needed for your courses were in the basement underneath the main bookstore. The main floor there has pens. Great memory palace, by the way. If you're at York University, or if you're ever in Toronto, go and visit it. You can make it as a memory palace. So, but I don't know what it looks like these days. It was 2009. Hard to believe, 2009 I finished my PhD. April 3rd. Never forget that day. Wow, amazing. Anyway, it was a bookstore that had, the pens and the popular books on the top, but then in the basement it had all the textbooks, and I used to get them the minute I could. Bam, I'd be there. I'd get every single one, and I'd start reading from day one. And this was a powerful tool, and really one of the key sources of the A+ that I got, which I'm just always so tickled pink that I have so many A+ on my BA record, even though I didn't have memory techniques. But the sad thing is I didn't have memory techniques, so who knows what I knew back then. And I like to reread books because I'm able to recapture some of that. Because it's really important to go and water the plants and weed. All right, so that was one thing. And the other thing that I used to do also is I'd get the syllabus the first day of class, and they would have the assignments, and then I would just get started on the assignments. So if I knew there was going to be an essay, and sometimes they were very unclear, just the date of the assignment, and I'd beeline to the professor and say, look, can you give me any insight about what this is going to be? I want to have the additional reading done. I want to even get started with my draft, etc., etc. And this was great, because all the books that I wrote during university and so forth, I had so much free time because I had most of my work done well in advance. And I really encourage you to do that, or share that with your kids so that they can also get the A+ and just have so much more joy in their university years. As a result, even though I drank so much and I had all this depression stuff, well, whatever. I don't think that was a result of any of this. I still had a lot of joy, even despite all those problems, for much of the time. And who knows why I got hit with such a terrible depression. Maybe it was so we could do this today. I don't know if there's any meaning in the universe, but if there is, then maybe that's why. And really, if you want motivation on autopilot, I think that the best possible way to get it is through memory, because there's nothing quite like having information in your mind, especially when you memorize the stuff, that really, really helps remind you of what the world really is and how it really operates, insofar as anybody can know what is real. So I'll leave you with that thought, and until we speak again, keep yourself magnetic. Bye-bye.